On Saturday afternoon, the aft section of Ship 22 was rolled out of the high bay after being cut off from the bottom of the scrap Starship. The scrapping continued as the midlock section of Ship 22 was carried out of the high bay attached to a crane. Around the same time, the work platform was lowered from the bottom of the orbital launch mount and placed on its transport stand. Just after midnight, crews continued to make quick work dismantling Ship 22 as its forward lock section was removed from the high bay. The ship's methane section was next as it left the building after being cut from the bottom of what remained of the ship. In the early hours of Monday morning, the FireX system on the orbit launch mount was briefly tested ahead of the big day of full stack testing. By early afternoon, SpaceX began loading propellant into Booster 7 and Ship 24 in the first ever full stack wet dress rehearsal of the Starship program. For wet dress rehearsals, SpaceX follows virtually all of their procedures as if they were actually launching. This includes evacuating not just the launch site but the village and production sites as well. Also, unlike typical cryotesting, actual propellant is used, with more than 10 million pounds of it topping off the vehicles before mission control stops the countdown just prior to ignition. From the outside, everything appeared to go very smoothly with the first wet dress completed. SpaceX moved Ship 24's transport stand back to the tower as they looked to the next round of tests. On Wednesday afternoon, the ship was lifted free of the booster and placed back onto its stand as part of preparations for the next booster static fire, which should include all 33 engines at the build site. Ship 22's nose cone rolled out of the high bay, indicating that the vehicle had now been chopped into more easily scrapable pieces. Also, in Florida, the fairing halves from the recent GPS launch for the U.S. Space Force were returned to Port Canaveral. The barge that was recently loaded with GSE equipment from LC-39A was spotted being towed out of Port Canaveral on its way to Brownsville. And Falcon 9 booster B-1077 was lifted from the deck of a short follow Gravitas and placed it on the dock for processing.